So what is radon? Radon is a gas. It occurs naturally in the earth. It's just produced when uranium in the rock and the soils. It's just a natural decay process in the soil, in the dirt. It's dangerous because it's colorless, it's odorless, and it's tasteless. And not only that, but it releases radioactive particles. So, I think a lot of real estate people or a lot of people in general go, radon, what's so dangerous about it? Why are they making such a big deal about it? That this is why. I didn't realize it was actually, radioactive and poses an extreme risk to the health of humans. So, because what happens is that these radioactive particles, you inhale them and they start to decay in the lungs. I think everybody maybe sort of knows what decay means. Decay just means they start to break down. For everybody who watched the Oppenheimer movie last year, I think we all learned a lot about radioactivity, and etc. Same thing that was explained in the movie happens here to the radon. It just starts to break down. And what happens is it not only does it get into the lungs here, it causes lung cancer or a whole host of other lung diseases. And I was really surprised to hear this. According to the American Lung Association, I believe it was, it's the second leading cause of death after smoking. And it is the leading cause of death, even if you don't smoke. So pretty surprising about this. And I don't know if this matters or not, but there's a big chunk of people who die as a result of this. So again, I like to throw this out because I was a little bit surprised. Now I have a little bit better appreciation as to why radon is a concern in just in general. And then let's take a quick look at how this radon interacts or occurs, or what happens here in our properties, in the residential buildings. Just like we mentioned, these elevated radon hazards, or excuse me, elevated radon levels happen in buildings, and these, of course, can pose a health risk. And what these are called, they're called radon hazards. So anytime you see radon hazard, and we're going to talk about this throughout the rest of the presentation, that's what it means. You've got way too much radon there coming in through your property. How does it actually get into these properties? Well, it moves through the soil, and it comes up through the floor drains, the sump pump pits, the crawl spaces, and if you have any foundation cracks or gaps. This was new information to me. I had no clue how the radon, was a risk in our properties. I thought maybe somebody had to be eating the dirt. I didn't quite know, but it is, it can be pretty prevalent in our buildings here. And the agency who's in charge of sort of, monitoring this and laws and everything is called the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. And they do a lot of the testing. And they said that 41% of all the homes in Illinois that they did test for radon actually did have those high radon levels. So it's not 1%, 2%, 10%. I mean, we're getting really close to 50% here. And what they suggest is that we test. It's suggested that we test for radon every 2 years. We can do it ourselves. They sell these little kits at Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's. Oh, darn it. I don't know what happened to my other one here. I had another little picture here. They have these radon kits. It's either short-term radon kit. Oh, I think I know what happened. I accidentally put an animation on there, or the long-term radon kit. This one just tests like right away. This one, I think it will detect radon over like 1 to 2 years or something. So whatever it is you want to do, if you are interested in testing for it, I think they were $15-20 depending on which kit that you buy. Not too bad. The better route, of course, is to hire a professional. And here, if you guys are interested, I'll copy and paste that in the chat. The Illinois Emergency Management Agency does have a list of radon contractors who will be able to come out and test and give you some peace of mind. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea, perspective of what radon is and why it is so dangerous and important for us to monitor in our properties. Before we jump into the new law, I just wanted to make everybody aware of there are laws in Illinois related to real estate that deal with radon. So there's the Illinois Radon Awareness Act that's been around for a long time, since 2008. And there's the Residential Real Property Disclosure Act that's been around for 2006. I'm sure I know Hadi's familiar with this. And if you guys are brokers, you're familiar with these because they are required in any buying or selling of real estate. So they required the seller to disclose radon information for real estate transactions. So I'm going to show you guys the Illinois Realtors Disclosure and the Radon Testing Guidelines here. Where is it? I don't use these, of course, since I'm not a broker or agent. But Hadi, I don't know if you have any comments or anything you want to make, about these, but they are required as part of if you're selling your property, your agent broker will, of course, include these. And if you're buying a rental property, make sure that they provide these for you. But just basically, it's supposed to disclose whether any radon hazards are there. So it's a disclosure, and then they're supposed to give you this little brochure, radon testing guidelines. Okay, so those are just the current laws. And I guess I just wanted to make sure we distinguish it because right now the current laws are only when you sell or buy the real estate. So what the new law is, okay, so now this is the new information. The new law is not when you're buying and selling, it's for us, for tenants, for us landlords. And it was in I know you don't need to memorize this information or know it or anything, but I just want it for our records. Everybody knows it was House bill. Now it's a new public act, and it's called the Tenants Radon Protection Act. So it's a brand new act, but they did just amend this one a little bit as well. New act plus they amended it. And the goal of this act is they want to protect tenants from radon. Remember, these previous ones, the current ones, are protecting the buyers of the real estate in case there's any radon hazards there. Now they want to protect the tenants. And I've attended a couple of presentations about this, and a lot of landlords are griping, complaining, we got to do this. But I kind of understand it. Hadi, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I don't blame them because tenants are going to could potentially be long-term inhabitants of their property. It is important for them to know, be informed about this whole radon thing and be protected from it. Hadi, I don't know what your opinion is about this Radon Protection Act. Good, bad, doesn't matter for tenants.
No. It's the law. Regardless, you have to.
Oh yeah, of course you have to, but
it's the law. So with the radon and the lead and the asbestos and all of this other stuff is something that it exists in many houses. So that's all that a tenant that they just becoming their first rental. Maybe it's not a bad thing to get some to educate them about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
it becomes redundant.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. As I mentioned, the presentations I attended, those groups have a slightly different approach to being a landlord, I think, than Hadi does, and griping and complaining about it. But again, just to summarize, I think it is important, and Hadi agreed, to let tenants know about it, especially for first-time tenants. And you'll see here in a minute, I'll show you what the requirements are. It's not too onerous on us, so hopefully you'll be okay with it. Regardless of whether you're okay with it or not, you have to comply with it.
Can I add something?
Yes, absolutely.
So on the radon law, no matter what the opinions is, landlords lost. Get on with it and accept defeat.
Exactly. Accept it, do what you need to move on. It's not worth it. So it went into effect January 1st, 2024. So if you have had any new leases, that you sent out, you're going to need to go back and do it. And from now on, any new lease, I'll show you what you need to do for it. And it applies to all rentals in Illinois. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the presentation, but hopefully it'll make sense now, is all the laws we're talking about today are for the entire state of Illinois. Entire state. Doesn't matter if you're in Cook, Chicago, because you guys know that a lot of the laws that we talk about are only for those two counties. Doesn't matter where you are, the entire state of Illinois has to do this. The only exception is if your property is located on the third floor or higher. And thank you for Kimberly for reminding us about the sales. I didn't know about that. So whatever approach you use for the sale, third floor or higher, same thing for the tenants. If your condo, your unit, your apartment's third floor or higher, you don't need to do it. I don't know if it were me, I would just do it because it'd be too hard to keep track of which units where, whatever, but it's entirely up to you if you have a property that's, third floor or higher, whether you want to attach it, comply with it, and I'll show you the documents that you need. And interestingly, this one, they decided to override any home rule laws. So if you guys know that some of the communities are home rule communities, it doesn't matter what they say about the radon thing, this one is going to override. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at what everybody, all of us have to do to comply with this new law. As I mentioned, it's really not too bad. So there are 3 new items we have to attach to the leases, and in reality, it's really only 2. So the first thing we have to do is to give a disclosure of information on radon hazards to tenants. And then we also have to give them the radon guide for tenants.